Welcome to Beyond the Riverwalk, the local weekly podcast that brings San Antonio's most remarkable people, places, and events directly to you. All links discussed will be in the show notes, so sit back, relax, and join Kevin and Melissa Barron as they ask the questions that you would. Now, let's get the conversation started.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Riverwalk. This is Kevin, and joining me as usual, most often, is Melissa.
As usual?
Well, I mean, sometimes I do these alone, sometimes you do these alone.
True, yes.
But usually you're the other person on the other side of the table.
I'm on the other side of the table. Yeah. Hi, y'all.
So, hey, we've missed you guys. We did an October show, a Halloween show, and then we had life happen, and we're back now for what I think we'll call our Christmas episode, because we saw a great show at the Magik Theatre recently, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we would like you to go back, if you haven't already, listen to some of the back episodes. There's 30 plus of them out there. We've got some amazing people that we talked to and some great things around San Antonio that we've been involved in and gotten to take part in. So over the holidays, bone up on a few of those, and we're going to be back with even more shows right after the first of the year. But in the meantime, let's talk to Anthony. Anthony Runfola is the artistic director at the Magik Theatre downtown on South Alamo, and he is with us now, I believe. Hey, Anthony, you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for being on the podcast. We appreciate it. It's this is one of those times that we got a kick out of it, because we got to experience a little bit of what you guys do at the theater before talking to you. And sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes we meet people before we get to see, what they do. But this was cool because we got to do this. So I guess if you would, tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved in what you're doing, and a little bit about the theater as well.
Sure. So I've been working in the theater now for about 25 years. I started right out of college. I started a theater company with some friends in Tucson, Arizona. And we sort of just decided we wanted to do. It kind of started out like the saying goes, let's put on a show, and it was just meant to be kind of one thing, a one-time thing, and people came to see it, and then they also came the next night and the night after that. So we just kind of kept going for about 5 years. We were all in our mid 20s at that time, and like all great 20-year-old artists, we kind of self-destructed and flamed out, which was great fun. But we're all still very good friends as well at now, so which is really wonderful. But after that happened, I went to work for a company in Tempe, Arizona called Child's Play, where I came on as their production manager, but also I directed a lot of plays, and that was really my introduction to theater for young audiences. For anybody that grows up in Arizona, Child's Play is really a part of of growing up in Arizona, and so I was familiar with the company, but I was not as familiar with the work, and you realize that theater for young audiences is about making art that is specifically for young people, and understanding that young people growing up in the world today have such a different experience than a lot of us had as children, because the world is changing so rapidly, technology changes rapidly, society is changing rapidly around us. And so we need to create work that speaks to that experience that young people are having now. Yeah. And so I kind of fell in love with the media of it, with that idea of creating things for young people. It was much more exciting to me to make theater for young people than for adults, I think, just because there are less rules that go with it. There's less reality that has to go with it, and so I stayed there. I stayed at Child's Play for 20 years. And in the late spring of this year, Magik Theatre, well, I should back up just one sec. I had been invited out to Magik Theatre to direct a play last year in 2018, and that was Schoolhouse Rock Live, which is the stage version of the popular Saturday morning cartoon shows.
Grew up with that's for sure.
I'm just the Bill, and in conjunction, all that.
I was just getting ready to say that.
Yeah. So that was my introduction to Magik, and actually my introduction to San Antonio as well. And I thought, this place is great. if they ever have a job here, I would totally go for it. And sure enough, about 9 months later, they posted the artistic director job, and I applied, and I'm happy to say I got it. So I just started in October of this year.
So to start with, I guess you said you're the artistic director. We talked about that when we did the intro. But what does that mean?
That's right. So basically, I am responsible for the artistic vision of the company. So one of the most basic things I have to do is choose the season of plays that we sell to the audiences. So this current season, of course, I wasn't in place when it was all decided, but it's a great slate of plays. I'm very happy to have inherited it. It's wonderful. But since I got here, I actually have been working on what we're going to be doing a year from now, and picking those plays. And that's sort of the main thing. In addition to that, it's putting together creative teams to work on those plays, to bring them to life, casting those plays, getting the right actors in there, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's sort of like being a producer in a way.
So it sounds like it's kind of soup to nuts. So you're picking out what the plays are going to be on these. And I'm going to ask some questions that I'm just curious about. Hopefully other folks may be as well. But when you pick these, how much of it is an actual script? Like the one we saw the other day, which we loved, was Tiny Tim's Christmas Carol. And obviously it's based on the Dickens book, but was there a script for that? Or do you have someone that adapts the story?
Yeah, so a little bit of both. More often than not, they are scripts that have been developed and premiered other places and are published. So in the case of Tiny Tim's Christmas Carol, it is a published script that was written by or adapted by a man named Ken Ludwig, who has written lots of other plays, mainly for adults. Actually, this one he wrote one of the few plays I think he's written for young audiences. So that's how we found that. There are catalogs and there are networks of people. There's a whole, actually, part of being in this world of theater for young audiences, you're connected with all of the other theaters that do the same kind of work. So we all talk to each other and see what each other is doing and things like that. In addition to, one of the places I really want to go is creating new work here in San Antonio at the Magik. And so that is finding a playwright and creating a show from scratch. And it could sometimes be adapting a book that's existing. It could be about a historical figure or something like that, or it could just be a story that there's a playwright that wants to write a play about, So I'm hoping we'll be doing more of that in the coming years.
So it's from what we understand, and we don't know a whole lot about it, but that's one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you. What we understand about the Magik Theatre is that it's been there for a while. It's in this historic building. It's definitely for young audiences, but I can't say young, and we really enjoyed it. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
50 and 53, you guess who's who?
Yeah, she's the older one. And everybody we met, from the person at the ticket office to the cast afterwards.
And the events coordinator.
Yeah, had smiles from ear to ear. I mean, you can tell they loved what they do. What's the Magik Theatre, and how does it fit into the community of the arts here in San Antonio? Because it seems, to me anyway, that it seems pretty unique.
Well, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you enjoyed it, regardless of not being a young person, or at least an age, and not coming with your own young people. I think that's the key to it, right? I think it's about honest storytelling, honest, authentic storytelling, and as adults, you see that a lot in the Pixar movies, right? They talk about how important story is to filmmaking, and we feel the same way about that at the Magik, right? That it should be you should be able to relate to it, because I think generally all of us have been children at one point in our lives, and hopefully you can connect back to that and have some empathy for that younger person that you were. And maybe have some empathy for the young people today as well. But I think that it is about that honest storytelling. So I hope that, I know some people hear children's theater and they get turned off and they think, well, it's going to be people in maybe a dressed up like a purple dinosaur or something.
Believe it or not, that's what I was thinking when you said children's theater, but it's like, that's not what this is.
Well, exactly, right? And that's how we differentiate. We say theater for young audiences. It is created by adults. It's adult actors, right? We hire the best directors, the best designers, because we think our chosen audience deserves the best. And so I hope that adults feel that way too when they watch.
So how does the Magik fit in with the arts community?
Well, I mean, I think I hope, like I said, I'm still new here, but I hope that it's contributing to a cultural fabric that I see here in San Antonio. It was certainly something that attracted me to the job and to the city, was that it felt like art and culture is important to the city. It felt like having a sense of place is important to the city. I love the idea that the Magik is located in the hemisphere.
Yeah.
With this in this beautiful park with this wonderful playground, that families can come to the theater and spend a day. You're not just coming and seeing a play and then leaving and going home. I hope you're coming and enjoying the park, enjoying the playground, buying a paletta, having a slice of pizza or something, or bringing a picnic with you. You could do that as well. You can come down and park. You could also, we're right by the Riverwalk, and you could, I suppose, hop on a water taxi, from the Pearl or somewhere up there and make your way downtown and enjoy all of that as well. So I really hope I think it is, but I hope that it becomes even more essential part of the fabric, the cultural fabric of the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's right in the heart of everything. And the first thing when you living here, you think of, okay, well, I have to go downtown. The first question is, where am I going to park? Well, the nice thing is that there are a bunch of lots nearby, but there's actually one lot exactly next door. And we were there, on Black Friday after Thanksgiving, where people are kind of everywhere. And we parked in the first space right by the theater. So, I mean, it was really convenient. And we left at the end of the day. We were downtown till about 3 or 4, and there was still space available. Now, the weather wasn't amazing, but it also, there was parking around. And you're not too far from the River Center either. So it's not hard to get down there. And once you're there, there's a lot to do. But the production that we saw, and it's talk a little bit about what, and I'm hogging the conversation here. Melissa's looking at me like she always is for me to shut up. But the thing that we saw, I think was so cool, and I didn't expect, was I think there were 6 or 7 actors in the show. They played multiple parts as part of the story, and seeing something about about Christmas Carol. I mean, especially at our age or Melissa and my age, you go back. It's like, how many versions of this can I see? Well, this to me was brand new. Mm-hmm. It was a different perspective altogether. It still told the story. It was engaging. Right. One of the things that struck me, and I've thought about since, was that we were in a theater. The theater was almost full. And it was a matinee, and there were kids of all ages. And I don't remember hearing one child, get up and move around or make noise. I mean, everybody was engaged. So to me, it kind of captivated. And part of it is the look of the show. I think part of it is, the quality of the acting, the singing. And it was a fairly long show. I mean, it was like what you would expect. It wasn't a 10, 20-minute, play. No, it was really entertaining. So what goes into doing that? You talked about casting and the music and everything else, but it was really high quality. And to me, it was something that I didn't expect. So what goes into it from y'all's end in putting this play on? And, I don't know, I'm baffled by some of it because it just seems like it's really cool. The set design especially I was like, how is this going to work throughout the whole thing? And it did. It worked really well.
Yeah. It's getting the right artists together in the room. Tiny Tim was directed by a wonderful artist named Jimmy Moore, and that set design was by a wonderful set designer named Curtis Ashby. And they had not actually worked together before this show, so this was their first collaboration. And that kind of goes back to when you're asking, like, what does the artistic director do? You're putting these teams together, and kind of a matchmaker sometimes, and hopefully you get it right. And I feel like with Tiny Tim, we certainly got it right, both with the cast and the direction, the creative artists, the costume designers, everybody. And so you kind of, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of alchemy to it, that you're just sort of like, you kind of follow your gut, and hopefully you're right about it. Now, I think too, and just to address, I'm so happy to hear that the audience was captivated and they were, engaged. But sometimes with young people, I wouldn't want parents not to come because they think maybe their child won't sit through it. Any parent that's ever come to me and said, I don't think my kid will make it through, and I said, please just come and try. The child always does. And I think that's because theater is a different kind of engagement from a movie, or a television show, because it's live, because you're in the same room with the people, because you're sharing the same air with the actors, and you're breathing the same air. There's an energy exchange there, and it pulls you in. So even if your young person is a little wiggly, that's okay. That's to be expected. They're kids. It's all right, So I all that to say, to parents, please don't think your child can't make it through. If try it first, and if they ever do need a break, we also have the show on the monitors in the lobby as well. So you can always slip out and come back in.
Yeah, exactly. And it was really cool. And the other piece of it that I noticed and wanted to comment on was that the show, obviously, it engaged the kids and I don't know, the old folks like us. But
Quit calling me old.
I look at her when I say that. But
the kids and the big kids.
The kids and the big kids.
Big kids.
We're big Disney fans, so maybe we are big kids. But at the same time, it had a lot of humor to it. The Christmas Carol, the original story is somewhat dark. I mean, it's not exactly an upbeat thing until the very end.
And it's a ghost story, it's a ghost story.
It's a ghost story. But it had humor in it. It had some kind of really where you're wondering what's going to happen next. Like I said, everything from the costume changes to the music and all, it was just really, really great. So I would encourage folks, if you want to get in the Christmas spirit, this is a good one to see. And
one of the things I like, it kind of harken back to high school things, is because there's no production staff. There's no stagehands. The actors themselves are switching from scene to scene, and it doesn't distract you from the story.
Right.
And I enjoyed that. I said, well, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do that?
Yeah, it's kind of like behind the scenes while you're watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you build that into the storytelling. That's that good direction and point of view, right? It's not just about getting this chair from this side of the stage to the other side of the stage. It's about, how do I continue telling the story through moving this chair,
Right. And it was interesting the way they were doing it, because, knowing the traditional Christmas Carol and hearing it because I was thrown off when, there's Tiny Tim and he's 15. I'm like, what? When you know the original story.
He lived.
Yeah, he lived, but when did he turn 15,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing is like we talk about sometimes doing a podcast is like after you do one for a while, people listen to it, and when you meet them, they sort of know you a little bit. And when you go to a show like this, we've never seen any of these actors before, but by the end of the thing, you're identifying with him. It's hard to take them away from the character when we met them at the end, afterwards. You kind of want to ask them more about this life they were showing you on the stage because it was so believable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, that comes to, we'll be developing more of that. It's interesting that you say that, because I think an important part of this experience too is continuing it into the lobby, and sharing some of the creative process with the audience. So you can see, the designers do all of this wonderful work that you don't get to see months and months and months before. So there's quite often the set designer will make a model in scale. Costume designers will create costume renderings and paint them, and they're beautiful works of art in and of themselves. And so I think that, as Magik evolves, as I'm here longer, we'll start to share more of that with the audience so they can really see what goes into putting a show together, and understanding the context of the show too. Like you're saying, tell us more about that world you were living in, that should be a part of the experience too. That's something I hope to really highlight down the road.
Oh yeah. I think that would be amazing. And you've got the space to do it. I mean, we got down there a little bit early to check in, and we got to talk to some folks. I think we talked to the person who's
the events coordinator.
Yeah, and the person that's over development. And right now, anyway, we're doing this for the Christmas season in 2019. But right now, you guys have going on. They're doing for donations. There's an ornament that really is kind of cool that supports the theater. Y'all are also doing, I think it's blanket donations
for Sam Ministries.
Yeah, and
that's right.
So there's lots of going on, and you guys are involved in the community that goes outside the doors of the theater.
Yes,
and I think it's a nonprofit, right? Is that the background of the group?
That's right. Yes, we are. We're a nonprofit organization, so all of your donations are tax deductible.
And the ornament is on our tree.
And that's fantastic.
It's on our cactus
so the
tree.
Yeah, the ornament is $20. It's free with a $20 donation.
There you go.
Right.
And then Valero Energy Corporation matches that by 7%. So
didn't know that.
It stretches your dollar a little. Your $20 goes just a little bit further. And all of that goes to support our arts and education programs. Magik is out in the community quite a bit. We have a whole touring series of shows that go into schools and perform. It's the actors in a van, set, costumes, props, sound. They drive the van to the school. They set up in the gym at cafetorium, and they do shows right there. Yeah.
Our daughter saw one at her school in the spring. Yeah, she goes to Clavazar Academy, and she kept talking about the Magik Theatre, and I'm sorry, I didn't know anything about it at the time, but that was several months ago.
Yeah,
I'm thinking it's magic shows,
Well, that's
right.
Yeah, you got to learn a little bit.
But she goes, no, it was a play.
Yeah, and she really loved it. So when we told her, hey, we got this invitation to come down to this, she was right there, and she, the photos we posted on Instagram and stuff afterwards, you can see
gosh.
She's got a smile from ear to ear.
It's like she's with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wonderful.
Posed with the cast afterwards. So, this is something that, you take with you, and I'll be telling people about when we visit family in New Orleans. It's just, there's something about it that makes you feel good about the community overall, San Antonio overall, but also about people that are willing to go out there and do this, because kids are learning things. I'm sitting there watching this, learning how they're dealing with, like Melissa was saying, how they're dealing with changing scenes and playing all these different characters. I've never really understood a lot of that. And at the same time, you're getting the message from it that you need to, but it's in an upbeat way.
Right.
Don't be a Scrooge.
Right. That's right. Don't be a Scrooge. Well, people can change, right? You can. That's really the message of A Christmas Carol.
Right.
Is that you're not stuck. You're not you're not a slave to your past self.
Right.
You can change. You can change. And one of the things that's very important to me is that we are building empathy. I see the stage as both a window and a mirror. Where I feel like it gives us, theater is a great way for people to experience other people's lives. But also I hope that it's also a place where our community can see themselves reflected on the stage and can see their stories on the stage. And so I think that's one of the most important things that we can do, is to just share our common experiences with each other.
Do you always use professional actors?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so
I think on occasion, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm sure that on occasion we've had young people in the shows, in sort of an age appropriate role. Mm-hmm. But in general, they're all adult professional actors. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one I can't remember. I have the have to look it up on my phone. But one of the photos we posted, we had a friend that is active in the theater community here in San Antonio say, "Oh, I just saw him in another show, not long ago." So these are folks that obviously have a lot of experience, know what they're doing, and do it well.
Yeah.
So one of the questions.
Yeah, I'm happy to say. I think it seems like a lot of the actors that we work with are pretty in demand at the other theaters in town. So,
oh yeah,
we're happy to hear that. Yeah,
definitely. Well, one of the questions I had that was kind of prompted by something you said early on was, just how the times have changed, kids have changed. What entertains them, and I guess I'm trying to build off of what you said, has probably changed. How do you get them engaged? So what do you think is different? What are some of the considerations you guys have to do or think about, I guess, when you're putting together a show that maybe is for an 8 or 10-year-old or younger now versus 20 years ago when you got first involved in theater?
I think, when I say things like that, I'm talking about the material we're choosing, right? We have children who think about, kids now. Think about the smartphone, your iPhone or your Android phone or whatever you have in your pocket, and the access to information you have. The way you can say you can have a passing thought and you can broadcast that to the world. That's a fantastic power, and it's also very dangerous to have. And in some ways, remember, like a 12-year-old with an iPhone has the same communicating power that the president of the United States has.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a different kind of interaction with the world than certainly I had as a young person. The way our society is changing and how we connect with other people and other cultures and other races is changing. How people view gender is changing. And these are all pretty heavy duty things, and I will at times have people say, let's just let kids be kids. But I think this is being kids now, these are things that we have to talk about. They're not easy conversations. But I hope that the work we do might be a way into a conversation that a young person can have with an adult, to sort of figure out the world around them. It's difficult. So all that to say also, like, we still want to have fun for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But I think these are important. These are topics that I think are easy to not face, when you're an adult talking with a young person. And I think we have to, if you were born after, 2003, you haven't lived in a world that has, in a country that hasn't been at war, Yeah. We don't talk about that much, but it is happening. And it's important. It's important to understand, I think. And that's the key, if we're going to move the needle on literacy and on poverty and on race relations, we have to kind of face some of these topics as well with our young people, because they are the ones that are going to do it. It's not something that's going to be solved in a year or 5 years. It's a generation. It's a generational change. And I think those changes are happening faster and faster.
Well, the person that kind of came on stage and talked about the ornaments, which we saw, I guess, before we went out into the theater, but he came on and talked to the audience a little bit about the development and some of the things that you guys do, which was really kind of neat. What you said just now kind of prompted this, was he was saying, I think that the donations for the ornaments can essentially allow 2 kids that otherwise wouldn't have been able to come to the show, because it helps to get them there and offset the expenses and that kind of thing. So what y'all are doing is not just raising money to do the shows or to take the shows on the road. You're actually also trying to get students into the theater that maybe would never experience that environment.
That's right. It's really important to us. We don't ever want to turn a young person away from the theater, or a school away from the theater, or a family that wants to come, And there are all sorts of ways. We do have free ticket programs. We do have scholarships for our camps and classes for young people as well. So yeah, we want to make sure access is very important to us, and that's access is about inclusion for everyone.
Yeah, Well, and then the other thing we learned while we were there, we were talking to the person that does the events, and I think she was telling us that our daughter was involved. To back up a little bit, our daughter was involved in Fiesta Speciale through Disability SA last year. And she was a duchess. Okay. She would want us to tell you, and she had a great job.
We worked hard to be a duchess.
Yeah, she raised almost $5,000 for Disability SA, so it was cool.
Well, this will be Anthony's first experience with Fiesta.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh,
it is.
It'll be fun.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait because I hear so much about it. So I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be fun. And well, the one piece of it is she's not in the court this coming Fiesta for April
for 2020,
but her plan is to run again in 2021. But what we understand is that the theater is also available for organizations. At least that's the impression we got, because it sounds like Disability SA may be having the coronation for the court at your place. You know, your place.
Your place.
Yeah, my place. Come on over.
What was funny when Kevin and I sat down and they said this would be the perfect place for the Fiesta Speciale coronation, which is in February. So after we watched the wonderful show, and then the events coordinator was the one we spoke with when we first got there, because this was Emma's first play in a theater.
Yeah.
That, she saw the one, she's seen stuff at school and stuff, but this was her first experience going into the theater and experiencing a play. And so I was talking to her more, and she went to get her card. She goes, and I just kept saying Fiesta Speciale. And she goes, I'm in talks with somebody from Disability SA. And it's like, well, that's what I'm talking about. She's talking with our friend Melanie Cawthorn, who's the executive director of Disability SA and Fiesta Speciale. So it's like, yay, we'll be here.
But you talked about
that's fantastic.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, So yes, the building itself is available. We do make it available for rent to other nonprofit groups when we're not using it. So it's not a typically available thing. It's sort of a limited basis, but it is available. So
right.
Yeah, and the location, like I said, is great. But when you mentioned just being accessible, that reminded me. I mean, it's something that's a community resource in a lot of ways. So I guess now that you've been in town for a few months, you said, you definitely got your feet on the ground. You'll be here permanently in terms of residence soon, because you were telling us before we got on that you're in process of getting all that stuff finalized. And we know what that's like. We moved here about 4 years ago. And it was a big change for us. We'd never lived in a city this size before. So what are you thinking about for the future? What are some of the big, maybe blue sky dreams you've got for the Magik and for just the folks that you work with?
Sure. Well, I hope to, I really hope to kind of stay. The theater right now has been in transition for a couple of years. It's been without artistic leadership for almost 2 years, I think. And so a lot of what I'm doing right now is kind of getting everything back on track and getting the company realigned with itself, and planning for the future, which I think includes, a much more strategic way of choosing our seasons and thinking about our shows in sort of a longer term approach. Like I said earlier, I really hope to develop more and more work here in San Antonio that then will go out and have an impact in other communities across the country. I'd like to send shows out on national touring. There's a big market across the United States for theater for young audiences, and in smaller cities and places that don't have theaters, and so we can really send our work out into the world a little more. There may be an international thing brewing at the moment. I can't say too much more because it's all just ideas at the moment, but we might be taking work across the pond, as it were, from here in San Antonio. So I'm excited to bring a spotlight onto Magik and onto our beautiful city here from around the world to see that the work we're doing here is fantastic.
Well, it definitely is, and we're going to be back. We already have the information for the shows that are upcoming, and I have 5 nephews. My wife, I have 7 nephews, 5 on my side of the family, 2 on my wife's side of the family. So if we can,
And one niece.
yeah, if we can ever get them to visit us, which we'll keep nagging them about. It's only been a few years we've been here, but they would absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And it's just something I think that I would definitely, like I said, encourage folks to go see. It's a great show to go see for Tiny Tim's Christmas Carol right now for the holiday season, but there's lots of great stuff coming up for the rest of the year. I think y'all actually have a different one before Christmas. Is that right?
Well, we have a Charlie Brown Christmas.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a special presentation that we do. This year it's at the Empire Theater, and it's at the Empire Theater from December 12th to 15th, and then it comes over to our home base at Hemisphere December 21st through the 24th, through Christmas Eve.
Okay, good deal. Good deal.
So, yeah, and you can get tickets through our website, magiktheatre.org.
Good deal. And y'all are out there on social media as well. So I'd encourage folks just go find them online, follow them, and connect for tickets or get a group together. Go down, do some shopping downtown, go do something fun, and take in a show. You'll definitely enjoy.
Well,
it.
that's what we did.
That's exactly what we did. Yeah. So we'll make sure we put all the links out there when we publish the show. The plan is to publish the show this weekend, so it should go out on the 8th of December. And
Great.
then we'll put all the links out there as well, like I said, for the shows that are upcoming. And if there's anything we can ever do to help get the word about, I can't even talk.
Get the word out.
Get the word out about what y'all are doing. Please always just give us a shout, shoot us an email. Laura Applin, who contacted us initially to connect us, really appreciate her work on getting us together. That really helped.
She's great. Yeah. We love Laura. And that's great. Well, I hope I get to meet you and your daughter at the theater one of these days.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely look for you to do that. Our daughter is Emma, and once you meet her, you'll remember her.
She will not let you forget her.
No, she will not let you forget her. She was wearing one of her only about the 5th version of her Disney purse that she always has. We have to go to eBay to keep finding the same one because she loves it so much. So she was wearing that, and one of the members of the cast said, "Oh, I was just shopping online on Disney this morning." And, her eyes went huge, and that was it. She made a friend, and that was it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's great to meet folks that are that into, supporting the community and, giving them themselves. It's a lot of work, I know, to be in these shows and to do it.
It is.
I mean, there's matinees and there's afternoon shows and there's evening. There's a lot going on. So thanks for all.
But, we're lucky. We're lucky to get to do it. Really. I mean, nobody gets into this for the money.
Oh yeah, it's like podcasting.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
But it's fun nonetheless.
And so we do it because we love it. So right. You get it.
Absolutely,
you get it.
We get to meet great people like you. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Anything else you want to share with folks before we go?
No, I think you got it all. Come to the theater.
That's it.
Get thee to the theater with or without children. Come and check us out. Yeah.
Oh, definitely so. Anything, Melissa?
Yeah.
And nothing off the top of my head.
All right. I think she's talked out too. It's been a long day.
Melissa, it was great talking with you. Melissa, it was great talking with you.
I didn't let her get many words in.
He didn't.
See, the problem is I get on these shows and I say, okay, Melissa, you do the talking because, you're into and then I never let anybody talk. So it's sad.
It's an easy job to co-host with you.
It is. And I'm an introvert. So this will tell you.
This is what's odd. Yeah, he's the introvert. I get in front of the mic and I'm like,
he's the introvert.
I'm much more confident behind a microphone, I guess. I don't know.
And I'm more comfortable in person.
When Melissa has her own show, I'll be the first guest.
Well,
I actually, come to think of it, I do have my own show.
She does it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You want to tell them?
Yeah, it's called Beyond Disability Texas. Our daughter is a special needs daughter, and she's an adult now. And one of the things we talked about was we started this as a way to figure out what do we need to do for her next, and you're trying to find different people to talk to. So what in the past, we've spoken people with ACOG, with the ARC of San Antonio. We've spoken to parents giving their testimonials about their children, a family attorney, and what we said was it's just two couples talking about what to do in their children's future don't take this as legal advice.
Yeah, but the idea behind it, I guess, is essentially just trying to connect resources with special needs families. People like us who don't know where to go. Even in a big city like this, there's a lot of resources, but you don't know how to find them.
Yeah.
So Melissa's taken on that one, and it's great.
And one of the reasons I asked about
that's wonderful.
One of the reasons I asked about the professional actors is, is there any? I know y'all probably do like summer classes or camps or stuff like that for those who aren't professional. But would there be a time or a place for something with special needs actors or adults or students?
Just for the camps, if nothing else.
We don't have anything right now, but absolutely, that's a wonderful idea. In Phoenix, I was involved with an organization called ABLE, where I directed and created a show with actors with disabilities. And they wrote the script. I directed it. We had a playwright that kind of helped them shape it into a story. But it was their stories, and they got to tell them on stage, and it was really a wonderful experience. And there's a big movement in the theater too that people, if you're portraying a person, if the character in a play is a person with a disability, then you should be finding an actor who is a person with a disability, an actor with a disability. And you're seeing that more and more. Interestingly enough, I was reading an article in the New York Times about, finding in a Christmas Carol production, casting a Tiny Tim, who actually is physically disabled. Of course, in the regular Christmas Carol, Tiny Tim has doesn't have a lot of lines. Anyway.
Right.
And he has rickets, which I'm assuming we've taken care of rickets. So
right, yeah. right, exactly. But if there is like a muscular or something like that,
right.
It's and that comes back to what I was saying about authenticity and honesty in the performance, because there are emotions and there are things that we carry with us that you can't, no matter how great of an actor you are, you don't have that experience in your body. So
right. Awesome.
It's important to find that.
Well, once you get settled and got everything on the road and you have free time, which probably won't be for a while, but
he's in the middle of picking his stuff for next season.
That's right. But anyway, if the opportunity ever arises and you need some volunteer help with a show like that, we'd love to
and
help
we got to tell everybody we found our tribe when we got to San Antonio.
Yeah.
Because we've been in other places, but we got here and we've made some lifelong friends, and all of our friends, our kids have special needs. So
all different kind of things,
all different types of abilities.
They're amazing families. So, but yeah,
wonderful,
so thanks again for doing this, and we'll like I said, we'll put all the links out there, and we'll send you guys the link to the direct download for the episode, so you'll have it.
Great.
Can listen to it, and again, it should be out on the 8th, and then available all for the holiday season and beyond.
And beyond,
super.
Like to infinity and beyond.
Thank you so much, and have a good holiday and enjoy the end of the year. I hope you get to take some time off and rest.
Oh yes, we're heading to see family in New Orleans.
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Wonderful.
So thank you, Anthony. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And like I said, if we can ever do anything, give us a holler.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have
a good night.
You too. And everybody else,
Bye-bye.
Thank you again for listening to the episode. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Riverwalk all this year. This is the end of 2019, I guess, is coming quickly, the beginning of 2020, and we're looking forward to being back with you with more shows. We've got a bunch of different folks that we're working to line up, but if you have ideas for show guests, please give us a contact. Find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and all that stuff. Or you can just email us at podcast@beyondriverwalk.com. So until the next time, we will see you around the Alamo City.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Riverwalk. Send your comments, questions, and suggestions to podcast@beyondriverwalk.com. As always, subscriptions to our show are free and available wherever you find podcasts, as well as on our website. Until next week, join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more conversations about our community.